Well, we are now 11 weeks into the 2018 NFL season, down to, I believe, the final 6 weeks. As, of course, since it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and since the games would be starting like a half an hour from now when I'm beginning filming, I have to, as always, do my week of Thanksgiving picks on Wednesday instead. And last week, oh my God, I had the worst week of the season, 6-7, had a win percentage of 462. I'm not kidding when I. I'm not kidding when I say this. If all the week one games, I mean, 1 p.m. games, yes, this last week, ended at halftime, I would have been 7-1. And no, I ended up going 3-5 with the 1 p.m. games because all the teams that were winning allowed a comeback to happen on them. It was pretty pathetic. So my second losing week this year. But anyways, here is the playoff stands of the season today. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs and Steelers with the byes, which actually was supposed to be the case last week, as it's now the Ravens at the Patriots and Chargers at the Texans still. And the NFC, it's still the Rams and Saints with the byes, with the Vikings at the Bears and the Panthers at the Redskins. And my Super Bowl pick still remains the same, with the Chiefs and Rams playing each other. And now that I saw the Super Bowl preview, I say it's going to be the Rams getting it this time around. But then again, repeat matches usually have the team that lost the first time win, so Chiefs have an edge there as well. So we start off with my picks with our Thanksgiving games tomorrow. Start off as always, the Bears at the Lions, as the Bears are making their first Thanksgiving appearance since 2015. As the Bears got a pretty good victory against the Vikings last Sunday night, as they are, I think it was like a 1.5, 2.5 game lead over the Vikings in the NFC North race. Meanwhile, the Lions, they got a pretty convincing win against the Panthers last week. That was pretty good. So far, they've won a couple games against teams that are in the playoffs right now. That's quite impressive, although 4-6 really isn't good either. So, of course, the Bears are trying to go for the sweep of the Lions this year for the first time since 2012, I believe it was, when they last swept them. And the Lions are trying to catch back in the NFC North race, and of course still trying to be in the very close playoff race this year too. But I think it's going to be the Bears this time around. I mean, honestly, the Bears and Lions, when they go to Detroit, the Lions usually struggle beating the Bears, believe it or not. And that's when they were usually better than the Bears. But now the Bears are a much better team, and the Lions are struggling. So I think the Bears will get this. But don't underestimate the Lions either. The last bunch of years, they played much better on Thanksgiving than they did like a decade ago. So you can't underestimate them either. But I think it'll be the Bears this time around. After that, we get to our next game. A really big one, too, as it's the Redskins at the Cowboys. I'm not kidding when I say this. The Redskins have literally played on Thanksgiving 3 years in a row now. They need a break next year, for God's sake. As this is the NFC East on the line, because if the Cowboys beat the Redskins on tomorrow, they will have the AFC East lead with the tiebreaker and the better division record. And of course, they're in a much better position. Wow, who would have thought after they got their butts kicked by the Titans Monday night a few weeks ago? They're now won 2 in a row and are 1 game away from leading the NFC East. Meanwhile, the Redskins, a hard-fought loss against the Texans, but of course, even worse when they lost Alex Smith, most likely for the year, and Colt McCoy's now their starter. His first start in 4 years, something like that. Oh boy, I hate to tell you this, Redskins, but I'm pretty confident you're going to be going for a free fall now. But then again, Colt McCoy did win you that one game when you visited the Cowboys on Monday night back in 2014. So you got that maybe on your side. Maybe you can get some luck out of that, but I doubt that. I think the Cowboys will get this one, but I wouldn't necessarily underestimate the Redskins either. They're all inconsistent as hell throughout the season. And then we get to our Sunday night and final Thanksgiving game. Still a big one, even though the record doesn't say it otherwise, as it's the Falcons at the Saints, as the Falcons make their first Thanksgiving appearance since, I believe, 2007 when they hosted the Colts in that Thursday night game. Meanwhile, the Saints, if they win this, they will once again have the number one seed in the NFC side, since the Rams have their bye this week. And, of course, they destroyed the Eagles. Absolutely obliterated and destroyed the Eagles. God damn, that was a beatdown right there. And the Falcons. Come on. You were 4-4. It looked like you finally got shit right and you got fixed. But no, you lose to the Browns and now you lose to the Cowboys. Oh, God. Good luck getting into the playoffs now, unless you're lucky maybe the Vikings or the Panthers continue their slide so you can maybe sneak in, but good luck getting in when you're 4-7 most likely, because I'm picking the Saints for this one. After the Thanksgiving games, we get to Sunday action as we start off with the Raiders at the Ravens for the first time since 2016, as these teams have played each other 4 years in a row now, rotating where it's played at, and the Raiders got that come-from-behind victory against the Cardinals last week. I knew I should have picked them too because they're just inconsistent as hell. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they beat the Bengals last week, but I wasn't really impressed with Lamar Jackson, except for his run ability being the first quarterback to rush for 100 yards in like almost 2 years, I think it was. And, of course, his passing ability, not really so well. My father wasn't really impressed either. But I think the Ravens still will get this one, mainly because that defense will cause a living nightmare in hell for the Raiders. And then it's the Jaguars at the Bills for the first time since 2016 as the Jaguars. Oh my God, you forced forced Big Ben to throw 3 interceptions. You gave him the exact same fits that you did the last season in your 2 games up in Heinz Field, but you still can't get the win in the end. Oh my God, you're 3-7. You've lost now 6 in a row. I mean, it still is up in the air. You still have a shot to make a playoff spot, be it the NFC South or the wild card round, but you gotta get your shit right. God, that is just embarrassing how you blew that against the Steelers. Meanwhile, the Bills, off their bye week win last time out, they destroyed the Jets on the road. Jesus Christ, Bills, what is with you? You're inconsistent as hell. You're supposed to be like one of the worst teams in the league, yet you still do destroy teams on the road, for God's sake. I don't get it. It's so weird. You're inconsistent as hell, and you need to get better at it. But I think the Jaguars will probably get this one. I just can't really trust the Bills, even though they're much better at home. But watch. The Bills will once again show how much better they are at home and get the victory still in the end. Then we get to a big wild card showdown possibly in the NFC. An old rivalry from the mid-2000s that hopefully gets renewed as the Seahawks are at the Panthers for the first time since 2014 as the Seahawks beat the Packers last Thursday night pretty convincingly, even though it was a hard-fought battle. Meanwhile, the Panthers, oh my God, they've lost 2 in a row at home. Bad enough you got destroyed by the Steelers, but then you blew it to the Lions. You should have gone for the field goal and gone to overtime. You might have been able to get it right there. Oh, boy. Always start doing smart plays. This game is going to be interesting as hell. Sucks I'm not going to be able to see it, most likely. Oh, boy. These games are usually all defense by and large, so it could go... Well, I can't say Seahawks anymore because there's no really defense by and large, but I think the Panthers will get this one, but you can't underestimate the Seahawks. I bet by and large they played a lot better than most everyone thought they were going to be, so you can't underestimate them, but I'm sticking with the Panthers for right now. And then it's the Browns at the Bengals, as the Bengals hoping to maybe get some magic with their offense against the Browns defense with Hugh Jackson being their offensive coordinator now. As the Browns, I think they were on their bye week, if I'm correct. Because I'm pretty sure last time I saw them when they beat the Falcons and such, that spanking or whatever, that was pretty impressive. I can't remember if that was indeed their last game or not. Meanwhile, the Bengals, I knew you would fall from grace and you were not a legit team. Going 4-1, now 5-5, as you're in a free fall right now. And just nothing's going your way by and large. But I still think the Bengals will get this one, but don't underestimate the Browns, especially when they had a good history of giving you fits and hissy fits when you host them by and large. Then it's the Patriots at the Jets. As funny enough, I just realized all the AFC East was on their bye week last week too. That's pretty funny how that happened. Meanwhile, the Patriots, you got destroyed by the Titans last week. I knew they were going to give you trouble, but I didn't think they were going to give you that much trouble. Jesus Christ, that was your worst loss since the Chiefs game by and large. Meanwhile, the Jets, as bad as the Patriots getting destroyed by the Titans was, you got destroyed by the Bills at home. Without Josh Allen either. That's way worse than anything the Patriots could do. And of course, the Patriots right now have a 2-game lead over the Dolphins in the AFC East race. But the Patriots cannot underestimate the Jets. The Jets almost always, like the last decade so far, have always played the Patriots really well by and large when they host them. And once again, like I do every year for like 5 years in a row, or 6, 7 years in a row, something like that, I'm going to still pick the Jets for this game because the Patriots are struggling on the road and they usually struggle against the Jets. So that if the Jets could apply that pass rush, they actually might be able to pull the win off like they almost did last year. And then it's the Giants at the Eagles. As the Giants now have won 2 in a row, they've matched their win total from last year, and they've looked much better these last few weeks, making their incredible comebacks and such. Although last week the Buccaneers, they blew them out, and then they almost let the Buccaneers make the comeback. Meanwhile, the Eagles, oh my God, you got destroyed by the Saints, 48-7. Carson Wentz threw 3 interceptions on them. God, that was a terrible performance for the Super Bowl champs and all. Super Bowl hangover indeed. Oh boy, you got a lot to worry about, especially when you have a struggled the last few years beating the Giants when you host them. So you can't underestimate them, especially when they have some momentum on their side, but I still think the Eagles will get this. And then it's the 49ers at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2013, as the 49ers lost that hard-fought game against the Giants last week, but let's be honest, you blew that comeback. You had a 10-point lead and such like that, and you let the Giants make the comeback on you, which is pretty pathetic. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, they've lost now 4 in a row, and once again, they put up a whole bunch of offense, but they just can't do it again. And here we go, round 4 of switching quarterbacks this year as Jameis Winston's now back in. Is this going to be a trend for the rest of the season? The guy you put in struggles, you bring the other guy in because he puts up offensive numbers, and then when he doesn't get the win and struggles one game, you put Ryan Fitzpatrick back in, he's going to show his Fitz magic again. Oh boy, it's going to be a long season from this. Is absolutely ridiculous. But I think the Buccaneers will get this one, only because I'm not convinced the 49ers are going to be able to put up the offense that the Buccaneers obviously can consistently do week in, week out. It's just that can the Buccaneers defense, one, not allow so many points to make a loud comeback on them, and will Jameis Winston or Ryan Fitzpatrick or whoever the fuck they play not throw so many damn turnovers? If the 49ers can get all those turnovers, then maybe they can have a win off of it. Meanwhile, we now get to our 4 p.m. games, starting off with the Cardinals going to the Chargers for the first time since 2010, as the Cardinals are 1 loss away from getting their first losing season since 2016. And of course they blew it against the Raiders. How unfortunate, since they were playing good throughout the game by and large. Meanwhile, the Chargers, what the hell? You lost to the Broncos, for God's sake. You hosted them and you let them go down there and beat you in the end. Phillip Rivers threw like so many interceptions. That was pathetic job they did right there. But I think they'll still beat the Cardinals right here. But apparently, you can't underestimate the Cardinals week in, week. I mean, sometimes they actually can put up a good fight, just like they did against the Chiefs a few weeks ago, where they only lost by 12 points. So I picked the Chargers for this, but don't underestimate the Cardinals. Then we get to a game that I'm pretty confidently was put in at 4, flexed in, but I'm not fully sure because I doubt this was a 4 p.m. game before. As it's the Dolphins at the Colts for the first time since 2013. As this is a matchup with the 1 wild card seed on the line right now in the AFC. As the Dolphins off their bye week, where I'm trying to remember their game that they played. It just won't come to my head, unfortunately. But I know they lost that one. Meanwhile, the Colts, now they look like a playoff team, like I predicted they were going to probably maybe be during the first beginning of the season. As that offense is clicking and they're not letting Andrew Luck get sacked by and large, I think the Colts will easily get this, but don't underestimate the Dolphins either. They've been very, very like a wild card throughout the season, so you can't expect to just walk over them, especially since the Dolphins, the last few times they visited the Colts, have had a pretty good games against them. Oh yeah, Ryan Tannehill's starting too, so that'll help out the Dolphins too. And then after that, it's the Steelers at the Broncos for the first time since 2012, as the Steelers made that huge comeback against the Jaguars, and they were down 16-0 going to the fourth quarter. That was pretty impressive, but Big Ben, that was a very terrible performance you did, even if you did make that comeback. But they won 6 in a row now. I think they might have like one of the longest win streaks. Yeah, up there's one of the longest win streaks in the league right now. And they're still having a 2.5 game lead over the Ravens in the AFC North. Meanwhile, the Broncos, a very convincing win against the Chargers this last week, made that comeback too. So still in the race for a wild card spot, a lot better position than they were last year by and large. And the Steelers cannot underestimate the Broncos. Every time they go there, they usually have problems by and large. And, of course, we saw what happened last week when they went up against a strong, stingy Jaguars defense. Well, the Broncos also have a stinging defense, too. So, you can't underestimate the Broncos. And if they can force a whole bunch of turnovers on the Steelers, the Broncos can get this one. But I think the Steelers will get this still in the end. And then we get to Sunday night with that second seed in the NFC North on the line, as it's the Packers at the Vikings. Whoever wins this game will have sole lead in the second seed in the NFC North, because remember, these two tied in week 2, so whoever wins this game is going to have the tiebreaker throughout the season against these two, as the Packers once again blew it against the Seahawks last week. And of course, Aaron Rodgers is getting a little annoyed. If you remember when they last played on Thursday night, nothing's going right for them. Meanwhile, the Vikings, what was their last? Oh yeah, they lost to the Bears. They actually played a lot better than I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to get like their asses kicked by and large, but they still remain competitive. Now, the Vikings have won 2 in a row. They've still remained undefeated when they host the Packers in Bank of America Stadium. And they put a pretty convincing ass whoopings too, but you can't underestimate the Packers either. This could probably be very close, especially since both teams are still fighting for the last spot in the NFC playoffs. I think the Vikings will get this, but don't underestimate the Packers either. And then we finish off the week with Monday night. It's a pretty big AFC South showdown, as it's the Titans at the Texans. As the Texans, I think now they indeed have the longest winning streak in the league right now with 7 wins in a row. I think I heard when they beat the Redskins, they were only the second team ever to win 7 in a row after losing 3 games to start the year. This is a really big game for them, because depending if everything goes right, they could have a 3-game lead in the AFC playoffs, and depending on what happens with the Steelers and the Patriots, they could possibly get first round bye in the works going for them this week. That is just incredible to think about how terrible they were to start the year. Now they're not only in position to win the AFC South, but maybe get a first round bye possibly. This game is probably going to be all defense. Marcus Mariota, if he plays, because he got injured I think last week, so who knows what happened to him after they got destroyed by the Colts. The Texans managed to beat the Redskins too by and large. So, as long as Marcus Mariota, if he plays, and Deshaun Watson use their feet, they could easily still maybe get the victory by and large. But I think the Texans will get this, but don't underestimate the Titans either. So those are my picks for Week 12. I can't wait for all the Thanksgiving games tomorrow. Especially can't wait for that Monday night game. And for the love of God, NFL, make Chargers at Steelers next week Sunday night. Please, you got to make that Sunday night.